Sales and marketing has changed, and it's changed because it's gone digital. Remember when marketing was as simple as taking an ad in the yellow pages? Well, according to research company Gartner, B2B customers are now 57% of the way through their buying process before they ever engage with a salesperson. So their pre-sales and their research is happening online, it's happening digitally. So whether you're trying to grow a traditional brick and mortar business or a service-based company, it doesn't actually matter. You do not have to be a digital first company in order to need a clear digital sales and marketing strategy and plan. And according to Google, 6% of all retail transactions happen on the internet, but 96% of all transactions start on the internet. So, in other words, most of us are still buying most of our goods and services in traditional brick and mortar stores, but the vast majority of us are starting that transaction online. We're doing all of our research online. And I think the other key thing here is digital has now become king. So, according to Adweek, digital ad spend outpaced traditional ad spend for the first time ever in 2019. So, traditional ad spend, TV, radio, print, digital is now larger than those. And it's, again, a trend that's probably only have accelerated due to COVID-19. So what that means is no matter what business you're in, if you don't have a clear digital sales and marketing growth strategy, you're going to be missing out on the majority of your potential customer base who are now primarily on digital channels. And in the B2B space, B2B space has also changed. So this research comes from McKinsey. According to McKinsey, B2B sales leaders using digital enjoy 5 times the growth rate of their peers who are not at the cutting edge of digital disruption. So this can lead to a massive competitive threat to those who aren't deploying digital sales models or getting the human digital balance right. So I guess the key takeout from that is that business leaders are struggling to keep up. And sales and marketing is only getting more complicated. The number of channels we now have to learn has just exploded. So think about when all you had to be concerned about was print, TV, radio, or picking up the phone and making a cold call. Today, it's crazy. The market has become so fragmented across these multiple channels. So just social alone, there's Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Snapchat. Then we've got Google and YouTube. It's pretty crazy. The channels are all over the place. Have a look at this slide. This is a few years old, but this is sales and marketing technology landscape. And there's only more providers have been added to this in the last couple of years. So there are literally thousands of bits of marketing technology, sales automation that you really need to be on top of and understand if you want to be effective at sales and marketing today. And it's only getting more complicated, which I know can feel a bit overwhelming and a little bit intimidating. But what if it was possible to get crystal clear clarity around where to focus your energy and where your priorities should be so that you can leverage digital to drive massive growth? How would it impact your business, your sales, your leads? And I guess on the flip side, what happens if you don't get clear about how to leverage digital channels for your business? How much of your market share will your competitors take from you if they begin using digital strategies against you? And again, to underline this in the B2B space, according to that McKinsey research, over a 4 to 5 year period, B2B sales companies that use technology to power and optimize their digital and human interactions consistently outperform their peers. They achieve 5 times more revenue growth. They have 8 times more operating profit. And for public companies, they have twice the return to their shareholders. So there's a lot of upside in getting this right. And there's a lot of downside risk in not getting it right. So in this presentation today, what you're going to learn is how to double your sales using digital channels. We're going to help you understand where to start on your digital sales transformation. I'm going to share frameworks and models for growth, and I'm going to show you how you can start deploying these models in your business beginning today. So a little bit of background. My name's Toby McKeldin. I'm the co-founder and head of growth at Indigo Media Group. We're a digital growth agency founded in 2002. Our mission is to help entrepreneurs and leaders of growth organizations develop and implement digital sales and marketing strategies that drive rapid and predictable growth. I've got a background in marketing and technology in Australia, UK, and the US, and I've delivered sales and marketing consulting and training to Google, Bain, many large corporates, ANZ, Deloitte, as well as many small to medium enterprises. And we're also a Digital Marketer certified partner. So Digital Marketer, the largest digital marketing training organization in the world. They've trained 126,000 marketers across teams of all sizes, including some of these organizations. So these are some of the brands. And so I guess the key takeout here is this is not just me talking about this stuff. These models and frameworks we're going to be going through today are being used to power some of the fastest growing organizations in the world. And I think what's different around this presentation is, and training, is that nothing from other webinars or presentations you've seen is I've got nothing for sale. So I want you to, sit back, relax, take some notes, pay close attention, because the goal of today is to give you a formula and framework for predictable growth and put you on a 90-day path to doubling your sales. Now, obviously, your sales themselves won't double in the next 90 days, but if in the next 90 days you'd be able to build a plan for doubling those sales, I think that'd mean this time was well spent, and hope you'd agree with that. So just a little bit of context, big picture before we jump in. What is the problem here? Why aren't businesses growing as fast as they should? Even if you've got a great company, even successful companies wish they were growing more quickly and more profitably, wish they were more successful. So why aren't they? First thing I think about sales is that often they're unpredictable. They're either driven by launches or referrals or promotions or holiday sales. It can be a roller coaster. That's in the consumer environment. In the B2B environment, it might be that your sales team exceeds targets one quarter, then misses them by a mile the next. It's this inconsistency, this unpredictability that can be a real challenge. The other one is, I think often businesses want to market and grow, but they don't want to be seen as sort of pushy salespeople or sleazy marketers. So we obviously want to avoid doing anything that's pushy, spammy. And I think that leads sometimes to businesses being reticent to do sales and marketing or no marketing at all. And then, some companies are doing marketing and they're growing, but they're doing marketing that isn't profitable now. So, sales are coming in, but they're losing money and they're hoping that it's all going to just work out later. So I want to say at the outset that my assumption is not that you've got tons of money to burn. I'm assuming you want to grow both predictably and profitably. So that's what we're going to be talking about. So our objective, what are we going to be focusing on? We're going to be showing you how to make sales and marketing predictable so that we want to get to the point where you can anticipate almost down to the dollar how much revenue you're going to generate in the following months based on your marketing campaign's performance this month. Because that's really how you can scale. Yeah, that's how you feel confident making investments in sales and marketing. And we want to build trust. So we want your marketing to really create trust and not take away. And I really think marketing that's done well can build brand integrity and create trust through the whole process. So we're going to be showing you how to do that. And then, of course, we want to make sure it's profitable. So I'm going to assume you don't have money to burn, that even if you're well funded, all things being equal, you'd like to be growing with greater capital efficiency. So nothing I'm going to be sharing with you today is going to involve making any wild, crazy bets. Okay. So again, the goal is to give you this formula and framework for predictable growth and put you on a 90-day path to doubling your sales. So big picture, again, context. We found that if a company wants predictable, sustainable growth, there are three assets they must have in their business. The first is a documented customer journey. So this is how customers are created. This is how they first hear about us, how they engage with us, how they then become a buyer. They then get excited about working with us. They ascend, they advocate, they refer. And we really need to define that journey, because you cannot optimize what you have not documented. So being very clear on how customers are created from scratch. The second asset business needs to grow predictably is actionable metrics. So I see a lot of companies have dashboards that track all kinds of things at different times, but many companies are primarily tracking vanity metrics. We don't want that. We want actionable, real metrics, and we want tools and tactics. So obviously, what got you here won't get you there. What's going to get you to the next level in your growth is going to be some of the different tools and tactics, which I'm happy to talk about. But in my experience, a lot of marketers or founders or sales leaders want to focus in on tools and tactics first. But as you see, if you don't have all three, then you can't get this predictable growth. So let's dive in and have a look at what happens if you just have one of them. Because imagine for a second, you have a documented customer journey, but you're not tracking anything. So you don't have any tactics. You just have a sheet of paper. What if you had metrics but nothing else? Well, then you've just got an Excel spreadsheet and no actual sales. What if you have tools and tactics but you don't have any metrics to measure them? you're not tracking anything, you're probably going to end up losing more money than you're making. So what if you had two of these, two of the three, but you're missing one? So let's say you've taken the time to document your customer journey, and process we'll touch on today, uh, and you have actionable metrics, but you don't have any tools and tactics. Well, then you can feel kind of stuck in the mud. You know where you're going, but you don't have the tools or abilities to get there. So you can end up going to conferences, reading lots of blog posts, going to webinars, just looking for ideas. Let's say you had a documented journey and you've got tools and tactics, but you don't have any actionable metrics. Well, then you have this challenge of being a bull in a china shop, right? Lots of activity, but no idea around what's actually working for you. So, really flailing about. And then what happens if you've got those tools and tactics, you've got actionable metrics, but you don't have a documented journey? Well, then you really have this challenge where you become a one-hit wonder. So tactics kind of work until they don't. You don't have this unified framework for predictable growth. And you find yourself saying, everything was so much easier a couple of years ago. Why was that thing we were doing a couple of years ago not working now? Have you ever had that experience? So does one of those three stand out? Because I think very few businesses are doing all of these perfectly. If you are, well done. But in my experience, usually there's one that resonates more or that defines the team. So we're going to get started on resolving some of these challenges. And the idea is, obviously, we want all three. And that's when we can really generate this idea or create this idea of getting predictable growth, when growth just happens. So let's dive in and look at each one of these individually, and we'll start with the documented journey. Okay, so the customer value journey is a comprehensive, unified framework for growth. The customer value, it delivers what every company needs. So it's a predictable flow of customers from scratch. It aligns business objectives across departments, so no more silos and turf wars between marketing and sales or marketing and product. It aligns the customer's interests with company's interests, because obviously the goal is success. It's not just a sale, and it gets a shared vote. We create a shared vocabulary. So now everyone in the business agrees, for example, on what's the definition of a lead. So let me take you through these eight stages. So the first stage is the awareness stage. So this is how a prospect first finds out about you. They see an ad, they find you in search, they hear about you via referral. They then move to the engage stage, which is perhaps they read your blog post or they engage with a social media post, watch a video, etc., which then leads them to opt in to your email list or subscribe, or they download some gated content. They then convert, so they make their first small purchase, or they schedule some time, invest money or time. So it's perhaps a demo. They then they become excited. They get their first transaction. They get excited from the transaction. We then move to upselling them the core offer, expanding, retaining. They move into becoming an advocate. They give us testimonials. And then over time, hopefully successful customer actively brand and promote your brand for you. So think about each of those stages and think about, where does your business rate on a scale of 1 to 5 for each of them? So 1 being poor, 5 being kind of world class. How would you rate your organization on each one of these stages? And the reason I do this and go into a bit of depth here is because the best way to optimize flow of customers through your organization is actually to optimize one of these stages at a time, one stage at a time. Okay, so many organizations think if they could just drive more traffic, for example, to the website, or get more referrals, the rest will take care of itself. And that can be a major mistake. One of the things we see regularly, for example, is that lack of awareness is often not the problem. Even a lack of leads is not the problem. Often businesses actually are very poor at the conversion phase. If they don't fix that first, then there's really no point in generating more traffic or leads, because we're just going to be pouring more water into a leaky bucket. So I'd like you to think about this. Also, have you ever had a bad sales experience? My guess is, because often it will be that the salesperson or the person selling you kind of got things out of order. Maybe they were asking for too much too soon. So this sequence helps us stay well into the process and helped us optimize one stage at a time. And that is how we can get predictable growth. Okay, so let's look at the second stage, which is actionable metrics. And for this, we use a tool called the Growth Scorecard. And if we end up working together, we will build one of these for your organization. So our recommendation is that once you've defined your customer journey, you actually track metrics which align to each stage of that journey. So, for example, in the awareness stage, there are three metrics we have here: unique visitors, pixeled audience, social media audience. And this can vary, but it can be, it can be retargeting audience or social followers, etc. The next stage we have is the engage stage. What three metrics do we need to track there? And it could be things like pages per visit, social interactions, blog comments. It could be time on site, email open rates, etc. It varies depending on the business. And then the third one is the subscribe stage. So, what three metrics would we want to be measuring and monitoring in the subscribe stage? Again, it will vary, but it could be things like leads generated, lead landing page conversion rate, cost per lead, webinar enrollments, email subscribers, etc. So we like to track these week over week. We use red, yellow, and green to confirm how well we're doing. And that's how we can track the progress. And it's a very simple scorecard that we use across all of our businesses. So, by the way, if you'd like a copy of this template, just email growth scorecard to go@indigomediagroup.com.au and we will send you one. So the third stage and the third asset we talked about was tools and tactics. And this is kind of the fun part. And everyone likes to think about tools and focus on tools and tactics. But again, if you only focus here, you're in that mode where you're really just kind of chasing this shiny object. So we don't want to grab on to random digital tools and tactics. What we want to say is, what stage in the journey of our growth scorecard tells us that we need to focus on? Where is the red in our growth scorecard? And let's focus there first. So if you're, for example, if you're not good at conversion, then let's get that working first before we start generating more awareness. So we have more than 20 playbooks and tools that unblock digital growth. So lots of tools, core matrix message, all sorts of different tools and tactics we can use to optimize and improve each one of these stages. So I think the thing, though, again, what we want to do is get clear. Can you see how clarifying and documenting this process is a critical first step in generating predictable growth? You cannot optimize what you have not documented. Yeah. It is absolutely critical, because we found that if you're not clear about that customer journey, you can wind up optimizing the wrong things. Again, you could think we need more leads, but maybe you don't need more leads. Again, maybe it's conversion rate, it can be very easy and frustrating to chase shiny objects and do work that doesn't actually pay off, or start projects and not finish them. And it's usually because we lack clarity on where the bottlenecks are in our customer value journey. Now, here's the really cool and powerful thing. The customer value journey has 8 stages that we just talked about. Now, let's say you were able to double the number of people who became aware of you, and double the number of people who engaged with your content, and double the number of people who subscribed, and double the number of people who got excited, and you had half as many refunds and returns, and then double the amount of the customer value per transaction, so revenue goes up, and then double the number of advocates and promoters and referrals that you have. So if you doubled all of these stages, 2 to the power of 8 equals 256 times growth, which is obviously ridiculous, right? It's absurd. But let me ask you a simple question. What if we doubled just one of them? What if we picked one stage and we doubled that one stage? Or what if we increased 2 or 3 of the stages over time and we, increase them by 50%? Or what if we were able to make tiny tweaks to every stage by just 10%? Obviously, 256 times growth in a business is ridiculous, but you can see how if 256 times is the technical potential, then at least doubling can be quite simple, if you're looking at the right stages. So 256 is outrageous, but can you see how doubling is possible? Or maybe even tripling? It absolutely is. So that is why we call this a comprehensive framework for growth. We want to optimize each stage of the value journey. And growth isn't then just predictable, it's inevitable. Growth cannot not happen. It has to happen. It's just maths. We just need to take one stage at a time. So we talked at the outset, I want to help you pick that one stage that needs to be optimized first. And I think to really underscore this, the race to digitize sales and marketing is on. Businesses and society are unmistakably undergoing a technology driven transformation, which only has accelerated due to COVID-19, driving the market to an inflection point. So the change of speed is only quickening up. So the IDC, another research company, found that the majority of 84% of small to medium businesses, however, are struggling to execute their digitization goals. And small to medium businesses that are successfully transforming, and the IDC calls them digital challenges, generate 50% more sales and worker productivity. And can you honestly say that you have a clear digital growth strategy for your business? Because if you don't, you'll be at a competitive disadvantage to those that do, particularly when it comes to sales and marketing. Now, what I've just done, finished sharing with you, is a roadmap for doubling your sales. That's great, I believe, and it works. But if you leave me here and just begin implementing this without a broader plan or a broader overarching strategy, my fear is you could wind up being just another half-built bridge in your business. And that's the last thing I want to do. So what I want to close with is what I teach is this concept we teach called half-built bridges. And the way half-built bridges works is that let's pretend this is you and you're over here on this mountain here. And ultimately where you want to be is over on the other mountain. This is your pot of gold. It's on the other side here. And the reason, you're watching this today is because you're looking for a bridge. Now, I don't know, the thing you want, where it could be more business growth, more sales. Maybe you want a nicer house or put your kids through your private schools, whatever it is. You came here looking today for some kind of bridge that is going to take you from where you are to where you want to be. And make no mistake, what I've just shared with you is a bridge, but here's my concern. This is probably not the first time you've seen a cool new or novel idea. In fact, I bet there have been lots of times you've come to presentations or watched webinars and, or you've seen something on Facebook advertising and you've said, oh, Facebook advertising. There's a new strategy where you can implement shorter videos. I think that's really going to work for us. So you start building that bridge and then you stop. And the reason you stop is because the next week you read about another strategy that somebody else is doing. And you're like, oh, forget Facebook. No. What we really now need to do is Instagram stories. So you cut off the first bridge, you start building a new bridge. And the next week it's like, no. Now we don't need to do Instagram stories. What we really need to be focusing on, chatbots. So you start building the chatbots bridge. And it's again and again, it's over and over. And what you're left with at the end of the day is just a bunch of half-built bridges. So my guess is if you're like I am, if you're like a lot of the entrepreneurs I know, this is not a unique experience. This happens time and time again. And what we have in these half-built bridges is an enormous amount of work, an enormous amount of effort, enormous amount of cost or investment. But, what is a half-built bridge really worth? Nothing, because it's not getting us to the other side. So, if you're watching this and you're feeling a bit frustrated, if you're watching this and feeling like, I'm just tired, I'm exhausted, I'm not seeing results, I submit to you the reason is because that you're tired and exhausted is because you're probably flailing about building an inventory of half-built bridges. It feels like you're working, but not getting anywhere. I'd suggest to you it is because you're building up this inventory of half-built bridges. So here's my message. And, we spent a lot of time talking about some cool sort of tactical stuff. And believe me, those things work. But again, if it's not fully deployed, it's simply going to be another half-built bridge, which is why what I want to leave you with then is this message. And it's really simple. And I want you to, I really think is the key thing from this presentation. If you remember nothing else, I want you to take away this one thing. I want you to pick one bridge. Okay. So whether it's something I've touched on today, or again, it's something you read about next week, it doesn't matter. If you take only one thing away from this time, if it should be this, just focus on one bridge and finish that bridge. Because if you finish that one bridge, what I want you to then do is finish a second bridge. And again, it can be something I've shared or something else. It doesn't really matter, because I know that once you start building these bridges, you get stronger and stronger and can build more and more of them. So it's not about the tactics, it's all about the execution. It's about implementation. It's about strategy. And that's the bit that's going to allow you to cross the bridge and get to the other side. So my advice again is to just pick that one bridge, because I know once you get across, again, you get stronger and stronger and you can build more and more of these. And here's why this is important. We've identified that there are actually 73 possible bridges that you could be building. So, no wonder we all get shiny object syndrome, right? So here's my offer that I have for you today. What I would love to do, if you're willing, I have a process that I go through. It takes about 60 to 90 minutes, and it's called the Double Your Sales Strategy Session. And it's held in office, and essentially in 60 to 90 minutes, we map out a plan for how you in your business can double your sales over the next 90 days. Again, we're not actually going to double your revenue over 90 days, but we'll be working on a plan so you can double sales over that 90 days. So here's the secret behind the whole thing. And what we're really doing with this double your sales discovery process is that we're identifying what's the one bridge that you should be building. We're identifying what's that one thing that we need to focus on first. So if you're sitting here thinking, you've got shiny object syndrome, you're frustrated, you've got this inventory of half-built bridges, you want to finish something, but you're not sure where to start, then that is something I'd love to help you with. So I also, if you've stuck with me this long through the presentation, we typically charge $500 for this, but if you've stuck with me this long, I'm happy to make it free of charge. So what I would encourage you to do is think, firstly, who is this for? It is for entrepreneurs and executives of small to medium businesses, sales and marketing leaders who want to develop a clear plan on how to leverage digital channels to double their sales. It's also for sales and marketing leaders of larger enterprises who want to develop digital growth plans for individual products or service lines or divisions in their organizations, and who want to win the race to digitize. So next steps. First step is I'd like you to apply. You'll see a button below for your in-office Double Your Sales Strategy session. I'd like you to fill out the application for that you'll see when you click that button, and then book a time and a date in my calendar. And at the end of the session, one of two things will happen. We'll either find we're a good fit, and I'll extend an invitation to work together as one of my clients, or if we're not a good fit, that's totally okay. There are no hard feelings, no obligations. Either way, I'm positive you'll get a huge amount of value from the strategy session and will leave much clearer around what you and your business needs to do next in order to increase sales and win the digital race. So I can confidently say it will be one of the most valuable 60 to 90-minute workshops you invest in your business this year. So go ahead, put in your application now, and we will see if we're a good fit for each other. Word of warning here. Firstly, my calendar does book quickly. I have limited availability, obviously. So what I'd encourage you to do is click to apply for your free in-office Double Your Sales Strategy session and workshop on the button below. And I look forward to meeting you soon.